Our final speaker also gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Ty Pope. She hails from the greater metropolis of the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, which is Minnesota and St. Paul. She received her Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Pittsburgh. She got a master's degree in public health from the University of Minnesota, continuing on to receive her PhD in nursing practices from the University of Minnesota. She's done work in her field in foreign countries all over the world, such as Nicaragua, Ecuador, Jamaica, and also Iceland. She made her way to the South by way of a job opportunity that came open. And during that time, she met her husband, Mars Pope. She's an active member of Full Council Church. Throughout her life, she has displayed a level of excellence that has propelled her toward her dream. She's 28 years old, and she's a doctor and an assistant professor at the University of Central Arkansas. For some people, that's 7 years from now. Dr. Love Collins talked about what you want to do with your life. So at 28, she's living her dream of teaching students about nursing and giving them insight on the fast track to that career. Her ultimate goal is to establish a program for students, much like yourselves, to travel internationally and to explore opportunities in this vast global economy that we're in. I'd like to introduce to you our last speaker of the morning, Dr. Ty Pope.
So he wasn't supposed to tell my age, because I wanted you guys to guess how old I am. Most people think I'm about 18, 20 years old when they see me. So they're kind of surprised. To hear that I'm 28 years old. But I think he should have put me first, because the brother-sister act is kind of hard to follow. But he wanted me just to tell you a little bit about, getting into a career in nursing. How many people here are interested in becoming a nurse or have ever kind of thought about it? Okay, and maybe a few people tell me why you thought about a career in nursing. Oh, you raised your hand? Okay, tell me why you thought about a career in nursing. Okay, what about you in the yellow? Okay. How about somebody on this side? I know some. Okay. Okay, well, there's many reasons. Some people say for the money, some people say for job security, some people say, it's just something that I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be a nurse. And for others like me, my mother was a nurse, my sister is now a nurse, and so whenever people ask me in elementary, junior high, what do you want to be, I just said a nurse. It wasn't anything that I ever really thought about, like, oh, I have to be a nurse, or I don't want to be a nurse. It was just, what do you want to do? I'm a nurse. And so my career lined up accordingly to be a nurse. But today we're just representing two healthcare professions, a physician or a nurse. What are some other areas that people may be interested in when it comes to healthcare? And I asked because when I was growing up in high school, I didn't hear about some of the other opportunities of being in the healthcare field. There's physical therapists, there's occupational therapists, there's dietitians, there's respiratory therapists. What else is there? Pharmacists. And they all come from a wide range of salaries and a wide range of educational backgrounds. Let's see, another thing she pointed out is scholarship. You know, when I was growing up in high school, nobody ever told me, you know, try to look for these scholarships, try to get your education paid for. I do have, you know, loans, which, you know, is fine with me, but it would have been better to have that stuff paid off, because whatever you make now is just your money. You don't have to pay for loans. And so it is very important that you understand that what you're doing right now is going to prepare you and make your life easier in the long run. If you establish what you want to do in your career now, then in the long run, you're going to set yourself up to where I'm making the grades I need to make. I'm studying like I need to study so that my life in the long run will be easier. But I think sometimes when you're younger, it's hard to understand that what I do right now is preparing me for my future. So okay, when it comes to being a nurse, what are some different career options you think that nurses have? Because most people think of nurses as they work in the hospital.
The bedside.
Okay, there's a bedside nurse that works in the hospital. Okay, a traveling nurse which usually still works in the hospital. I saw you in the stripes. I'm sorry. Okay, there's nurses in the Army, and that's something that's of interest to me. I'm not in the Army currently, but I'm in the process of joining the Army. So by next month, September, I'm hoping to officially be commissioned into the Army. What are some other areas? Okay, so most people think it's the hospital. You can work in clinics, you can work in nursing homes, you can do research, you can work for drug companies, you can work for different organizations such as maybe the Red Cross, the American Heart Association. You can work for lawyers. They need people to read medical records. It's probably cheaper to hire a nurse than a doctor to read medical records than the lawyers. There's a lot of things that you can do as a nurse, so don't always think that it's exclusive to being in the hospital. So after you choose that nursing is for you, the next important decision that you're going to have to make is what school do I want to go to? Currently in Arkansas, there's 4 different entry points to becoming a nurse. Does anybody know what those are? The different degree options?
Registered nurse, LP,
Okay, there's a registered nurse, and to be a registered nurse, you can have a 2-year degree or you can have a 4-year degree. There's an LPN, and you guys also have here, and I guess I should say you guys because I live here in Arkansas now, but there's a diploma in nursing. So it's important to look at what track is right for you. But I'll have to echo what Dr. Glover Collins stated that, you know, a diploma, I'm not exactly sure how long it takes. It may take 1.5 years, 2 years. LPN may take about 2 years. An associate degree takes 2 years. And a BSN takes 4 years. Well, if you take those shorter routes thinking, you know, I want to get a job right now, then that 4 years, that extra 2 years is not a lot of time. But it's actually going to open up more doors for you. Some of those other job opportunities you are more likely to be able to have with a 4-year degree than with a 2-year degree. So if you are interested in nursing, I would definitely recommend going for a 4-year degree. Now, it doesn't mean that, you know, sometimes life and circumstances come up and you may have to take one of those shorter routes, but you can always go back and complete a 4-year degree. There's also degrees beyond the 4-year degree where you can get a master's, such as a nurse practitioner, clinical nurse specialist, a nurse leader, and you can also go on to get your doctorate. I was interested in, well, I guess I'll just start out. When I graduated from nursing school, I started out working in the coronary ICU, which I pretty much worked with patients that had heart-related conditions. Though I really liked bedside nursing, I knew that long-term for me, I didn't want to stay in the hospital. I wanted to do something more. And I was really interested in public health, and I was really interested in international travel. And there weren't opportunities that people just threw out at me to say, hey, we're going overseas to Nicaragua or to Ecuador, you want to come? I had to seek those things out. So if there's things that you want to do along the way, you might have to do some digging to get there, but don't ever think that it's out of your reach to do. Some of my experiences in going overseas came about because I was talking to a colleague that did some international travel with her husband who was a doctor, and they did some missions trips, and I said, I really want to go overseas, but I just don't know how to get connected with it. And she said, well, I'll give you the number to a guy in Ecuador, and you can contact him, and maybe you can go over there. And so I contacted him via email, and he said, yeah, you can come over. And that's kind of how some of my experiences came about. Now, would I necessarily recommend you traveling to a foreign country alone by yourself, not knowing or having really met somebody? Not necessarily, but I say that to say that sometimes different opportunities, you're going to have to work hard and find them and pursue yourself. Kind of getting off track. I'm supposed to talk about nursing education. But, so I can really only speak to obtaining a BSN because I've never worked in an associate, a diploma, or LPN program. But I did teach this past year at UAPB, and this fall I'm going to start teaching at ECA. So when it comes to looking for a four-year school, you're going to have to, I think she reflected that, to get into some medical schools or something, you may need a grade point average of like 2.5 or... Okay, to get to the scholarship. That's kind of low. But there are some nursing programs where a 2.5 is required for a GPA. Now, I personally think that that's a low GPA, but one thing you have to consider is you may meet all the minimum requirements, but if there's 20 slots available and there's 100 students applying for those slots, and you meet those minimum requirements of a 2.5, and you have 30 other students that have a 3.5 or higher, who do you think that they're going to pick? The 3.5 or higher. And why are they going to pick those students? That's right, because they want students that they know can succeed. They want students that have already shown a pattern of being successful, a pattern of knowing how to study, a pattern of students that just know what they want out of life. So even though there's those minimum requirements, make sure that you're always achieving well beyond what they're asking. So when you first start at a college, you're going to start out taking general education courses, which those courses are non-nursing courses, and it may take you a year or two to complete those courses. During that process, you're going to apply to an actual nursing program. And this is where it's going to come into play where, your GPA is going to count. There may be different assessment tests that you have to take to get into the program. You may have to write letters of recommendation or write an essay to get into the program. And in advising students, sometimes students don't know, when am I supposed to apply for a program? So just like she said, with seniors that haven't applied for medical school, I've come across or advised students where, the next semester they should be starting a nursing program, but they haven't applied to a program yet. So when you're taking those prerequisite courses, when you're a freshman or sophomore in college, make sure that you regularly meet with a nursing advisor, because they're going to be able to line your schedule up so that you should be able to flow right into a nursing program, so that you know when I should apply, so that you know when, what my GPA has to be. A lot of nursing programs may have restrictions to where if you repeated 2 courses more than once, then you can't apply to the program. And so if you don't know this and you plan on just applying, then you may not be able to go to that school. You may have to try to get into another program. So those are just important things to keep in mind. Continually meet with your advisor to know what your next step should be. Once you get into a nursing, are accepted into a nursing program, it'll take about 3 years. So generally, nursing education can be 4 or 5 years, depending on how long it takes you to complete your prerequisite courses. But once you get into the nursing program, your focus is going to be on medical issues, surgical issues, pediatric nursing, psych nursing, public health nursing, maternal nursing, and you're going to learn about all those different fields to help you gauge which field you're most interested in. You're also going to be spending a lot of time in clinical and hospitals and clinics and different community agencies. That way, when you graduate, then you kind of have a good area of where you want to go. Another thing that I didn't mention is when you're looking for a nursing school, make sure that you research the nursing program that you're trying to apply to. Because the history of that nursing program can help you determine if it's the right school for you. If you, everybody has to take a standardized exam after they complete college, and that standardized exam is what gives you your actual nursing license. So it's not just enough to graduate from a program, you then have to take a test to get your license. Now, if you research a program and they have, let's say, a 30% pass rate on that standardized exam, and you see another school that has an 80% pass rate, which school do you want to try to go to? The 80%. And why is that? What does that show about that program? It's probably going to show that, you know, they have the resources they need, they have the right curriculum, they have good faculty members, and they have a pattern of success, which means that you will probably more likely be successful. Some of this stuff transfers over to no matter what career you take, whether it's nursing or not. Make sure that you research what schools you're going to. And that's pretty much it for me. Just know that the goal of nursing school is to provide you with a basic knowledge in nursing. The real meat and potatoes of what you're going to learn as a nurse is going to be from your clinical experience. So.
We're going to take a few questions for Dr. Cole from our student audience.
What is your most interesting encounter you had in the field?
My most interesting encounters have been from my travel overseas. In particular, when I went to Ecuador, then I was there for about 2 months, and I stayed in an apartment by myself. And I took I traveled all over the country to different indigenous communities where they don't have electricity, they don't have water. And so one particular trip that I took, I went to a jungle, and I stayed there for 10 nights. And to get there, you know, I had to take a 5-hour bus ride, and I don't speak much Spanish, so there was a huge language barrier. But I had to take a 5-hour bus ride, and then I took a 6-hour canoe ride to get to this area in the jungle. And it's not one of the canoes you guys see now. It's definitely a homemade canoe that's made out of wood, you know, it's sitting on a wood board. It's a long ride. But anyways, it was, you know, definitely one of the best experiences that I had. What I did there is my role as a nurse was they don't have very good sanitation practices, and so because of that, they get a lot of infections or intestinal parasites and things like that. And so when they use the bathroom, they don't have toilets, you know, they have holes in the ground, and a lot of times it's in vision of everybody else. Their houses are dirt floors, they don't have running water, so they take their showers or their baths in the lakes, and I had to do that for a few days. But those are the kind of experiences that I enjoy because it helps me appreciate what I have so much more. But while we were there, we worked with engineers. So another important thing to note is that whether you're a doctor or a nurse, then these health professions, they're always collaborating with other people. So I work closely with doctors, I work closely with other nurses, I work closely with the nutritionists. But in this particular venture, I worked a lot with different public health people and with engineers. And we dig the water trenches to develop clean water supplies for the community. And for them, that's the first time that they've ever had water. And so just to see them and just something that we have so freely, and to see them so excited when they turn on that faucet for the first time. You know, those are the kind of experiences that are most interesting to me.
Hi, Dr. Cook. What does a public nurse actually do? What does that job retirement mean?
Public health nurse. Okay, a public health nurse means my focus is basically on the population. So right now, you guys as students, you guys are population. And so my focus could be, you know, this population, they don't study hard enough. So what can I do to help them learn how to study better? And so when it comes to the public, you guys are the public. What can I do to help you guys improve certain issues? But there's a lot of different populations that you can consider. There's the population of Pine Bluff. And so I could work with policymakers to try to develop different initiatives. There's initiatives related to texting and driving. That's a public health issue. So there could be nurses working to help try to pass those laws or implement those policies. There's public health. You could be working with international organizations like the Red Cross, which I mentioned earlier. Public health, traveling overseas. A lot of what you do outside of the hospital can be considered public health, but you don't really know that it's public health until somebody says what you're working on is a public health initiative. Does that answer your question?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Do you think it's important to attain a degree, well, a bachelor degree in nursing instead of a 2-year associate degree?
Mm-hmm. And just kind of reflecting what I said earlier, I think it's important because it opens up more career opportunities. Even when you go to a hospital, you may have LPNs that work there, you may have diploma nurses that work there, you may have associate degrees, you may have nurses that have bachelor's degrees. Of course, the degree that you have is kind of going to reflect what your salary is going to start out at. So a nurse with a 2-year degree will make a little bit less than a nurse with a 4-year degree. Wanting to work with different organizations, you know, they look at that stuff, and so you may be more likely to get jobs outside of the hospital depending on what degree you have as well.
Good question.
I understand that. Also, your level of degree will tell you how much, how hard you have to work. So the person that's doing the 2-year degree might have to work 40 hours, 60 hours to make the same amount of money that that person with the 4-year degree gets in 3 days.
And another thing is, oh, sorry, let me just say, another thing is some people may say, well, what's the difference between these programs? If you can get a degree in 2 years versus a degree in 4 years, the 2-year programs probably focus on more intensely getting you involved in the actual practice of nursing. So you spend a lot of time in the hospital because they want to get you used to that. Where a 4-year degree, you get that time, but it's spread out over a longer period of time. But in addition, you learn about other areas of nursing, you learn about the theory of nursing, and it kind of prepares you for a higher level of thinking and more critical thinking. And so that's kind of what the difference is.
According to Mary Herschel, the chief scientist for nursing at the World Health Organization, she believes that nursing education, nursing practices, and management should be developed in conjunction with one another. Why do you think this is necessary?
Okay, basically what she's asking is why do we need nursing education, nursing management, and nursing practice? Why are those 3 things important to have together? So how many of you have jobs? Okay, that's all. And how many of you have a supervisor? Okay, and how many people think this supervisor, well, you could have your own job, you could have your own business, but how many people think my supervisor does not understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it because she's not the one down here doing what I'm doing? She thinks she can just bark at me all my orders, but if she was doing what I was doing, she would have a better understanding of why I do the things that I do. How many you kind of may feel that way? So that's why it's important that everybody's collaborating. The manager needs to know what the bedside person is doing, and also healthcare overall is continuously evolving. And so there's different research that's going on that changes the way way that nurses, doctors, anybody in the healthcare profession practice. So it's important to stay continually educated. As a nurse, every year you have to take a certain amount of continuing education courses. I'm sure as a physician you have to do the same. And so it's important to always have education in the mix with management and the people that are actually at the bedside doing the work. And while he's walking down, and I'll just say this, when I was in high school, I always thought 25 was old. And then when I got about 20, I thought 35 was old. And I thought by the time I'm, 30, I'm gonna have my career all lined out and I'm just gonna be smooth sailing from there. Well, at 28, I'll be 29 next month. I still feel like my career is just evolving. Even though I'm at a place where I want to be, I've always wanted to teach, and I've lined up my educational background to where it used to be to teach. Now that I am teaching, there's still a lot of stuff that I have to do. So don't think that you'll ever be set in your career. Don't think by the time I'm 30, 40, 50. There's people that are 50 years old and decide, I'm going to change my career because I don't want to do this anymore. So your career will always be changing.
Recent studies show that there's a shortage of nurses and high demand for nursing care. Why do you believe this has happened?
Okay, part of it is because if you go to Little Rock, then they may not have as big of a shortage in nursing because you might have a lot of people that want to go to Little Rock. But when you go to, since I'm new to Arkansas, I don't know a whole lot of the rural areas. Name some rural areas. Blytheville. You may not have as many people that want to go work in Blytheville to be a nurse. And so there's shortages in some areas, but maybe not shortages in other areas. And so in metropolitan areas like Little Rock, you may have enough nurses, but when you go to rural areas, there may be a shortage of nursing. Also, there's a lot of different career opportunities that you can have with nursing outside of the hospital. And so nurses are starting to veer outside of the hospital to find other kind of jobs. Like me, I've been a nurse 6 years now, I guess. Yeah, 6 years now. And I spent 3.5 years in the hospital. And after that, I kind of strayed into, I worked at Blue Cross. And so that opens up a vacancy at the hospital. Now I'm teaching full time. That opens up a vacancy. And so when nurses start getting outside of the hospital, that kind of starts to create a shortage in other areas. I do still practice nursing. I work at the Heart Hospital casually. I was there yesterday for a while. But I don't work there full time. So that's why some of the shortages come about.
All right. Let's take two more, last two. Okay,
I have a question.
all right.
This is for the general audience, since the general audience doesn't want to ask questions to the people. Does anybody believe that there's anything that you can do to better your GPA? Both of us have stood here and said that, 2.5 is actually kind of low in order to get into some of the schools and degrees that we're talking about obtaining. Does anybody think there's anything that you can do to better your GPA?
Yeah, I do. I say, me, like, with my priorities, like, I like to party. So I say, I my work first, and then after.
That is so true. I did a lot of partying in college. Did you?
I didn't, but I'm pretty low key, so, and that's just being honest. I'm pretty low key. But most people do, so.
So you just have to have your priorities straight. Who else thinks that there's something that you can do? Okay, that's a good one. Anybody else?
Study hard and do what you're supposed to.
Okay.
What you can't do.
Exactly. So for everybody here that has already started down your path, and you might have a 2.5, you might even have a 3.0, but you might The key to getting a higher GPA is to seeking out more classes, doing a few little post-bac classes to get up your GPA. You take easy things like, when I was in college, everybody had to take a physical education course. That was part of the requirements to graduate. 90% of the people at Xavier University would take this 1 hour aerobics class. And I mean, Sister Craig, she's an 80-year-old lady, she was working the heck out of me. I took a 3-hour karate course. 3 hours at an A, 1 hour at an A. You do the math.
Another thing that a little secret that nobody told me is that when it comes to, and it's probably the same with, doctorate education, is that with nursing, the education continually builds upon itself. So the first year, I'm learning the basic stuff, and the next year, I'm building on that basic knowledge. If somebody would have told me not to just study to memorize it for the test, but actually study so that I knew it, them next 2-3 years would have been so much easier instead of, just trying to take the test, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache if I would have actually took the time, studied it, and tried to understand it. Then the next year would have been so much easier because I would have had that basic foundation. So like you said, if you work harder, prioritize, and you'll make your life a lot easier. That A will come a lot easier if you focus the first year.
All right. Let's give these two powerful women a round of applause. Aren't they great? Okay, we had 5 participants. Let's give them a hand as they come down. Ricky Jones, Alexis Grady, Santino Green, Myra LeBeau, and Kayla Tichy. We had a 2-way tie for first place. That 2-way tie came via votes from your Twitter, those of you who tweeted in and those of you who voted on paper. The tie was between Myra LeBeau and Kayla Tichy. Let's give them a hand. They will go by the Human Resources Office today and receive their prize money. Give them a hand. We'd like to thank the City of Pine Bluff, Jefferson County Summer Youth Job Program for allowing this to happen. I'd like to thank our Mayor Paul Reeves. I'd like to also thank again Dr. Glover Collins, Captain Glover Collins, and Dr. Todd Pope for coming with us today. I thank all of our speakers from the workshops that we've done, the DEA, the Pine Bluff Fire Department, Coach George Shelton from Washington Chapel High School, Pastor S. Vincent Johnson, Full Council Church, Monica Gaynor Ministries, and Terrence Missioner from Jack and Jill Celebrations, and Monica Gaynor from Coffee with Monica and Monica Gaynor Ministries. We'd like to also thank all of our coordinators, Ms. Chantel Jones, Ms. Cleetta McCray, Ms. Dee Clay, our senior coordinator, Ms. Connie Jackson. Let's see. Oh, we'd like to thank UAPB TV for coming out and supporting us on all of our events, and we're very thankful to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, the flagship of the Delta, for availing us to their fine facility here at the H.J. Parker Extension Complex. And again, we'd like to thank you all for participating in the program. So, I'm Mr. Samuel Glover. I'm signing out. And let me tell you, you can go on UAPB television on YouTube. And look at many various things that's going to be going on this year. Of course, we have football season coming up and many great things that we have coming up. Thank you again. Okay, Dr. Little Collins got one of the things that
I just left one thing off my handout. For people who are interested in pursuing careers in the medical field, you know, the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences has a Center for Diversity Affairs. It has a number of programs for children ranging from kindergarten all the way through undergraduate programs. They provide scholarships and they provide programs that can help you get into the medical field. And if you have something right now, I just want to give you the web address of their site. It's www.uams.edu/CDA, Center for Diversity Affairs. Thank you.